Hi, everyone. It's Caroline Linton and Terryann Nikides, and we're going to have a little talk today about just a topic in BreakThrough. Maybe we'll talk about BreakThrough. I don't know. We'll see what comes up. We're just going to have some fun. So, Caroline, one of my thoughts, I don't know if you have a subject you want to talk about, is paradox. I've been wondering about paradox a lot. So I was thinking we could just delve into it and give people some food for thought. What's your thought? Do you have
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
I'd love to.
All right. So, one of the things, what was that?
There's a bit of a delay. So absolutely would love to talk about paradox. I have been thinking about it a lot myself. And I'm always interested in finding a different way of seeing something or a different way of putting words to describing something. That always helps me.
Yeah, and just that when we're talking, when a person's got an issue, you know, they're conflicted, and they're two opposing thoughts. Like, let me just give an example. This is going to be a bit silly for the moment, but just I want to sleep, have to work, want to work, have to sleep. That's a paradox. But when we're struggling, when we're in conflict, we can't understand that we're in paradox. We'll say two contradictory statements, and then we can't see it. We don't even know we've said it. So I'm trying to think for a moment of an example. Like, there's always a quantifier when someone comes in and talks about their husband or their child. You know, they say, "Oh, I've got this problem and that problem, but I love them." Right? So my husband doesn't do what I want him to do, but I love him. So there's the paradox going on all the time. And from the outside, you understand that the person is talking about their problem, but they have to quantify it to balance it out. And both things are true. We have such difficulty with two opposing aspects that are true. Yes. Right? I think that's what we're doing in BreakThrough. They're just two opposing ideas come, or convictions. They come in and they clash. They're butting heads, and we can't understand it. We're trying to sort through it as though we can pick one over the other. You can't. You can't. It's just not possible. That's why people, I think this is just one of my ideas, that people stay together even if they have a difficult relationship, because there's constant paradox. So my sense is that's what we're clearing up when we're doing a breakthrough.
Yes. How I see it is that there is this, the conflict of the paradox seems to build up a pressure in the system, or a pressure in the mind, or lots of thoughts start coming and trying to find a way to fix it. But once we do the breakthrough class and the breakthrough session, there seems to be this the perspective on the paradox that we know we can't really understand it, but something new comes to be seen. And that seems to shift this intense pressure that we're under, this intense conflict that we're under. So I really see that as that clearing up of these opposing forces that we're just constantly under. It's like they're battering us from both sides. And breakthrough gives us an opportunity to really see it in a whole new way. And whenever I have that for myself, I feel my physical body, my tissue starts to change, my mind tends to calm down, my digestion changes. So there's a really powerful physical shift that takes place when we're doing breakthrough.
Sorry, and you're really reminding me. So if I'm going through a conflict between these convictions that are paradoxical, and I run all over the place into different subjects, there is no way you're going to figure it out. That's why therapy can be 25 years, because you're going to sort through all these paradoxes, come to your mini revelations, and maybe 25 years later you figured it out, or it could have made it worse. Right?
Yes.
I know there's the Professor Jordan Peterson always talks about that, when two couples come in and they've built up resentment against each other, it's like almost impossible to unravel. You just can't. And I think the same thing when we're unraveling ourselves, because we have all these resentments towards others, resentments within ourselves. And when you write it down the way we do in BreakThrough, of course, just to let everyone know, BreakThrough is very honed in. You can't go and work with a million different subjects. We pick one particular moment in your life to unravel all of this contraction. And so we're going to have two ways of looking at this. Caroline feels a pressure building up. I feel everything gets knotted and contracted. You would feel something else. But there's a certainty that there is some kind of contraction that is going on when our convictions and our paradoxes are booting up against each other. So that we follow this line, and when you see it written down, as Caroline was just saying, that we don't really know what happens, but one of the magical aspects is that writing it down, and you look at the phrase, and all of a sudden, I worked with a gal the other day who hadn't done BreakThrough, but she's an old client of mine. She does different things. And she said, I really need an end to all my problems. And I said, don't you think it's time we do BreakThrough after all these years? You do all these other things that I always tell you, I don't recommend them for you, but I recommend BreakThrough. And she said, I'm ready. And we sat down and did the work. She just went, this is she swore a little bit, so I'm not going to use the word, but she said, this is a mind F blank, blank, blank K, right? So she said that, but she said, everything's just flipped around, just seeing it, because all we do is ask questions and see your beliefs. And once you see them out there, it's like the paradox that's been keeping you in that state starts to unravel just on paper. Then when you get to see those beliefs, you see the identity that has been holding you in the same old patterns. It's really, this gal was, she just, her face, her body, she said, I don't know what you've done, but I don't even know what's happened here, but I feel like a different person. I can't believe I believed those things, any of them. It was really, and you and I could probably talk forever about all the experiences we have with people and what they go through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, that also lends the idea that BreakThrough was not designed as something you do on others. BreakThrough is your personal work. So whether you're leading a breakthrough steps process, it's called, or if somebody's leading you, it's all about you. Even teaching it, it's all about oneself. And the byproducts is we're all getting it, right? Caroline and I also do self-inquiry every Tuesdays. You can always email me. Well, I'll put the email, I think, on the video here. I think I can do that. And we'll put the details somewhere. You can just email me for details for Caroline or myself. And you can take classes, you can join our self-inquiry. Self-inquiry, we only ask for donation, but you have to, sign a waiver because some people want to record it. So we have a waiver to follow GDPR standards. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Did you want to add something else?
Well, yeah, as you were speaking about writing down these things that because we ask these really particular questions and we come up with, you'll come up with an answer as someone going through a steps process. But I wanted to talk about that seeing something written down in a way that you've never seen it before has this incredible anchoring quality to the mind. So we can go off with a lot of explanations and stories, and what you were referring to earlier, therapy goes into a lot of deductions and you have mini revelations. Here it's really different. It's something that we haven't really experienced necessarily in our lives, where when the mind is so clearly anchored on one thing, unraveling one thing at a time, it just seems to me to go to a much deeper place. And when the mind is so beautifully anchored by our protocol and our questions, the ability to see the contradictions and the ability to start to begin to possibly see the paradox, because we can't really understand it, but you can start to see the contradictions. It's so, so powerful to me. So I really wanted to talk about that process of anchoring the mind in a whole new way, so that it is able to see the contradictions of the paradox that we find ourselves in.
So what do you find I know we get anchored by the protocol, but what specifically most anchors you, Caroline?
You know, as I've been working with anchoring over the last couple of years, really awareness of my breath and my body, that anchors me the fastest. And when I can feel I'm pulling up into the mind, then I'm not feeling my breath in my body any longer. So my breath and my body is really the fastest, most simple way of something that anchors me. Yeah. And for you, Terryann, what would you say?
I say the same thing. I have
Yeah.
it's like I come back home.
Yeah.
You might have a chit chat with the person for a while, or, we go off a little bit, but then it's right away, just come back home. And now I'm leading. And that really anchors me. As long as I know I'm the one leading, and we call the person being led through a breakthrough the blamer. So when I'm leading the blamer and they are committed to themselves, and they will follow my questioning, they'll follow me. So, well, they're not following me. They'll let me lead, just not interfere with my leading process, not trying to pull me out into another incident, right? So here you've got to work with one incident, and the person could pull me out and say, no, I want to go to this incident. No, we've got a protocol that's going to anchor, and I'm going to lead with that protocol. And that's going to help you see something. And of course, I don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. I'm just leading in that you have to let me, the blamer has to let me lead. So, or yes, they have to agree to allow me to lead, so that they're not going off into some other topic. It's not a tea, it's not a coffee clutch. It's really something that we're doing that is so intensely powerful. I don't know, about you, but what your experiences are. I mean, for myself, it's not so long ago where the spell of my mind broke, where I no longer have any interest in whatever goes on in my mind. It's not interesting to me at all. That I can use the mind for what it's intended for is very different. I can use the mind to do my work. I can use my mind to reason, to do all these things, but not to listen to any of the thoughts. That broke. What still is, continual, and I'm now 61 years old, just about 61, and I still have identities that hold my body in place, but I can't see them. I don't know where they are. So I wait for something to trigger me, because that's what we work with in Breakthrough, are triggers. Because the only way we can heal is if something is triggered. So if you've got a sinus infection, there's something going on, you're going to get mucus. It's like, okay, something is in my nose, right? You got a pain in your side. It tells you, okay, there's something going on in there. Let's go deal with it. So how do we do that with our identities? Well, same thing. Something triggers us and shows us that something inside is seeking out our attention. And that's where, I don't think, for many of the years doing this work, I was more involved in the mind like the mind torturing me, my conflict in my mind. And that I've got writings, you know, from when I was 15 years old, 15, 16, 17, and it's written everywhere. Why all this conflict? Why all this conflict? And it was all the mental turmoil. That finally broke only 4 years ago. I think I was 57, 56, 57, and it was gone. But that just was the beginning, almost the beginning of, you know, oh, now there are identities that I can't even see. And today, Caroline led a beautiful self-inquiry. It was just gorgeous. And we did caring and compassion. And through that, I began to see another identity of how much I care about the suffering of others. I could even cry right now just thinking about it. I care so much. And I realized that's an identity. And it's got a grip on me, and I'm just doing the work and waiting to see, you know, when's it gonna ungrip, or do I have to die and come back another lifetime? Hopefully not. I really like this one gone, but it's fascinating. It's awful when you know it's there and you're addicted. It's almost like you know, something possessing you, like well, all addictions are like a possession in some form, right? If someone's addicted to alcohol or cigarettes or chocolate, or it's like they're possessed, or, you know, it's really creepy in a way. And when you start to see it, you get that creepy feelings. I feel like something's crawling in me, because we just did the work not 15 minutes ago. And I feel like something's crawling inside as though it's alive. Now, it's not literal. I know energetically my body is releasing, but at the same time, there feels like there's a tension. So we keep doing the work to be able to release all of this.
And that is how powerful.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is how powerful work is, right? Because when we start to see something in a new way, or I'll speak for myself, when I start to see something in a new way, man, I can feel everything in my body start to shift and change. It's not only my ability with my mind to see my beliefs in a whole new way, or have a shift in perspective. Everything is so connected. You know, as we're constantly looking at, you know, we started this talking about paradox and finding new ways of describing paradox, or talking about it, or understanding it, right? And we do this with so many other words in self-inquiry, and there are particular words that we look at in breakthrough. But every single time I work on a new word, or its same word again and again in a new way, or a shift in perspective arrives around something that, it could be anything, like today was caring and compassion. There is a powerful transformation taking place. I don't really know what it is. Right? I don't really know what the change is going to be, but I can feel something shifting. So I find it so powerful. It's really incredible.
And that's like you said, it's a really hard thing to describe, because it's weird, but you do the work and there's some kind of magic. There's no way to explain. Well, I just saw what I believe, and then I saw the identity, and now I'm totally different. I mean, we're talking about people who come in absolutely enraged by someone who cut them off in traffic, or was late, or their husband said something, you know, do you really want to wear that dress? That could be the story. Do you really want to wear that dress? You know, and they're triggered, and they come in totally convinced the other person is to blame. And when they get to the end, it's like, oh, he just was thinking that dress wasn't appropriate for that event. He was helping me out because I didn't really know what we had to wear. Or the guy cutting you off in traffic, it turns out to be something, you know, something from childhood, that, and you see them unraveling even the stories from childhood. So yeah, I totally relate to you. I love it that we can talk about this with different angles, right? Because we each have a different experience of it. So, you know, I hope people get a lot out of it. Today we're going to just do a short video because it's late for Caroline, but we will, you know, start posting. I know people, it's interesting, Caroline, people love 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour videos. You know, the shorter the podcast and the video, they're not as interested as these really long ones they can sit and listen to. So I'm fascinated. So we will do longer videos.
Yes, we will. I'm really looking forward to it. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, because I think just chatting helps me catalyze all kinds of things that I need to see for myself. And if other people can benefit from that and enjoy that, how wonderful.
And also, please ask us if you'd like us to talk about something in particular, right? We
Yeah.
can talk about all kinds of things that can help you to understand what we're doing in this work that is probably the most powerful. I've done a lot of different work. I still do different work. But as far as what has been the most powerful in my life is breakthrough. And I would say the reason being is that it's always evolving. And it's evolving not necessarily because someone says it should evolve, but Esther Veltheim, who is the breakthrough creator, the evolution is because we are evolving, because we are all together as a group. And Caroline can attest that I was alone out there teaching for I don't know how many years. I can't even count how many, but it was a long time, really just getting this work out there, traveling everywhere. And it was just so exciting because Caroline has been doing this work with me since 2008 or 7, I think.
So.
Yeah. So we've been doing it together. So she's been on this journey with me forever, but just decided to finalize her instructorship. It's a year now, right? Over a year.
Well, no, it was the 13th of June. So 13th of June coming up just before our birthday. So the funniest thing, I think, or a wonderful thing, Terryann and I are born on exactly the same day. A couple of years apart, I'll say.
A little bit more than a couple. She's a baby compared to me.
But exactly the same day. And so we're Gemini, which is the twins. And I just love that for breakthrough. We refer to ourselves as the breakthrough twins. But yes, it's almost a year that I've been an instructor, and gosh, what an incredible journey. I didn't think I would learn or just unlearn is really a word that we like to use a lot with breakthrough. We're unlearning everything we've learned to this point, everything that we think is true about the world, and we begin to see it in a whole new way. So I've been unlearning rather. And it's just been at such an incredible rate. I'm loving it.
And when you say unlearning, it just really, here are all my rigid stone, convictions about the world. They're so intense, and I believe them all. And that is what we unlearn. So you can even feel dynamically the energy of someone who's got really strong convictions. And you probably, the best way to look at it is in yourself, because we always do. Even the shyest, little gentlest person has a really strong conviction. I am shy, I am weak, and I can't do it, and I can't go talk to this person, I can't go to this. It all comes to these really, rigid ideas. And the moment they see them, it's like, oh my God, look what I was thinking. That's ridiculous. Yeah. There's this kind of ridiculousness, though painful. It is still painful that we lived that way. But the moment you see it, that pain is released, which is fascinating. So it's not that you're going to see pain you didn't see before. You're in your own suffering and pain, which is really the conflict that is going on. That's what causes it. Whenever you have some kind of conflict that drives you and you say, that's usually not me, or, oh my God, I do this all the time and I want to stop doing it. I mean, it goes around in circles all the time. And once you just see it, there's that relief and all that rigidity, that defensiveness. We talk about defenses a lot in breakthrough, because if somebody doesn't allow you or I to lead, right? If they don't want to, there's no way we could do the work. And the reason being is they're not ready to push their defenses to the side. They're not ready to go, oh, that's a defense, I'm here. Let let Caroline lead me, and I don't need to go to the defense. And if she keeps leading me, she will keep anchoring me, and I will go up here and defend my position. Because defending my position, if you want to do that, go right ahead. Go have fun defending your position. But usually when you're defending your position, it's like around and around. I don't know about you, Caroline, but the nausea within myself of the times I had to keep going round and round, talking about a subject with all my convictions and never coming to a resolution, never coming to a practical action, ever. Nauseating. Just terrible. It's just horrible. And you hear yourself. It's like, what am I doing? And we can't find a way out because we don't realize, well, the way out is not so simple. You can't just analyze it. You've got to have someone who anchors you and questions your convictions so you can see the fallacy of them. Right? If you don't have anybody to look you in the face and ask you a question and you're ready to go, I'm going to answer this question honestly. Oh, and the moment you do it, you're like, well, that's really dumb. Usually we just answer from our head and we assume and make another assumption and another assumption and another assumption until we absolutely don't make any sense, right? Just nonsensical.
And that's the analysis, when there's analysis and you keep going over and over, and this means this and that means that, and just it's a string of assumptions, and it's incredibly tiring, and possibly why therapy is never ending, right? Here, it's something really different. Here, we're, as you were saying, that question of someone looking you in the eye and asking you a direct question, you're actually answering it and seeing for yourself what your conviction is. And it's just magical, totally magical.
Yeah, that word is so powerful that it's magical, because we don't, so many people say, explain to me, explain to me, explain to me. I'm like, no, it's like you can't explain what it's like to see your own duality, your own paradoxes, the two convictions battling together. You see them, and then it reveals an identity you've been trying to protect. Or trying to say you're not. Even the idea that you are something, whether you're good or you're bad, you're right or you're wrong, that is polarized. That pulls us, right? Doesn't that pull you? The minute is like, oh, I got to be good, I got to be this. We're torn. It's almost like we're ripping our bodies in half, the moment we do that. And then we have all the convictions that say, okay, let's keep that identity that I don't like, hidden, and we'll keep the one I like on the surface. And believe me, the one we like is not necessarily nice. Like some people prefer to say they're an idiot than they would want to say that they're really smart.
And that is so tiring, and it really makes us sick. Prolonged.
Tired, yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's really, really hard. It's really, really hard on us. And we learned this, at a we didn't actually learn it, right? That's sort of a misnomer. We learned our convictions. We learned all of our defenses. We learned all that. But the identities are part of the learning process. But it's really when we were so little where everything went in, right? Like languages, kids learn tons of languages. This is great. And then later on, we can't learn what we learned between 0 and 4. But once we get to 4, right, we differentiate. Right? So what does that mean to you? So I'd like you talking as well, not just me.
Well, when you were saying that we don't really learn it, you're reminding me of just this weekend. I was in a little workshop, and they were talking about the program, and we were programmed. When you were programmed, they programmed us. And I just sat there kind of getting this little, because it's like, no, hang on a second. It's not like I'm some computer that you can go in and program, okay? At some point, I had to agree with the programming for it to even stick. Whether I was really conscious of it or not, I'm not sure. I'm still working this out for myself. So at that really young age, I'm thinking about possibly surviving, staying alive, making sure that I'm not being kicked out of the family, right?
Or killed by
Or
accident.
killed,
You know, if somebody gets
right?
mad, knocks you off a table, you crack your head
Yeah,
open. You don't know what can
yeah.
happen. Even
So
if they're really
sometimes,
nice people, you don't know.
yeah, that these things were my way to stay safe. And I don't think it's a programming. I think that all my convictions that come along with that seem to uphold this in one way or another, these identities that I don't know what the words are, taken on, assumed, got in there. I don't know what really happens. I don't know how you would call it.
Well, I would think from what you're saying, now we're doing a little bit psychology and programming, because there are a lot of, you know, this whole nature nurture thing, and people just go, no, it's just nurture. And it's just, like, I just can't possibly believe it's one. I don't think we're
Yeah, I don't,
robots.
can't be.
I think we come in with our own dynamic, and
Yeah.
we're going to interpret what's safe. Because how can you have two kids in the same family, and one, you know,
Yeah.
sees the family as safe and one sees the family as dangerous?
Indeed.
That tells you right away it's not just the environment. And I know they say it's not the same for each person, and that, you know, you have a new sibling, or, you know, gets added to the mix, etc., etc. But it still blows my mind that you can have such different perceptions. And
Yeah.
that aside, when someone has a conviction about how terrible their parents were, and we do a breakthrough steps for that person, lead them through one, and at the end, they see their parents completely differently. Well, that tells me there was something going on, that, yes, for safety, but also their personal perspective on it in
That's
that
right.
particular moment. Like, what if, I don't know how many times I've said something to my dad. He goes, that never happened, honey. Sweetheart, it never happened. I'm like, what? He goes, no, you just made up. This is what happened. And then my brain goes, oh yeah, that's actually what happened. But when we're kids, we don't know. We hear that, or my dad would say something, or my mom would say something, and I'd say, oh, you said this to me. And they go, yeah, but you've interpreted not the way I meant it.
That's right.
Right. So what does that tell you? That, and some people won't even listen. They're so mad at their parents. They won't even listen to, you know, how kind their parents can be. That's not every parent. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about majority of circumstance. We often demonize our parents when they're not actually demons. They're just people making their own mistakes, and, you know, they don't do everything right, and they could unlearn as well. But it does tell me there's the individual child interprets the world differently. And yeah, they can come up with order, and because it's the first child, then the second child. So that's I just don't buy it. It's too complex.
It does become too complex, and I think interpretation, that's it. It's like, we've spoken before about, we can be having a conversation, and everything that I say, I interpret a particular way, and everything that you say, or vice versa, we interpret things differently. We're having the same conversation, but we go away with completely different interpretations of it. So I think that's happening all the way through our lives, and clearing up our convictions, our misconceptions, assumptions, things we believe to be true that we haven't had an opportunity or necessarily taken a look at. Is this way, this thing that you say is true, is it actually this way? And it's really the most compassionate and gentle thing when you're guiding someone or leading someone through a breakthrough steps, because they have an opportunity to really decide something for themselves, possibly for the first time in their lives. Sometimes we just take on these rules and assumptions that this is what we do in our family, and we've never really had an opportunity to figure it out for ourselves,
And
right?
what about the individual experience? How many times part of the defense is, but this is what I was told, or this is what I experienced. All right,
Yeah,
your experience isn't reality necessarily. It's not what's really going on. It doesn't make a particular idea true just because you experienced it.
yeah,
You know,
that's
people do
right.
this so often. It's like, yeah, but I didn't experience that. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what you experienced. I mean,
That's right.
I think statistics is wonderful. I like listening to statisticians, you know, that really can, you know, decipher what's going on in a chart, whether it's population, whether it's health, whether it's whatever it is. It's so magnificent to really watch someone who's got the art down pat. But most of the time we just take correlations, right? Even in the, I think in the media, like some of the, you're just listening, you go, that statistic
Yes.
doesn't even make sense. You know, and I took statistics
No.
in university, but it still doesn't make any sense. But generally, if you haven't done this kind of work, statistics or whatever, or questioned, you know, learning to question is huge, right, Caroline?
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
That's it.
Learn
That, you know, no matter where we go with this work, it's we don't ask the right questions.
Yeah, that's it.
We just assume what someone says is true. We just assume what we're thinking is true. We assume we heard exactly what they said. I can't tell you how many times I can overhear someone talking and the other person comes, so and so said this. I'm like, it's not what I heard. So I
Yeah.
wonder what that person actually said if the both of us are hearing it completely differently. So differently, right?
And I must say that working on the questions, so in BreakThrough, we have specific questions. And when we do our self-inquiry classes, it's a series of questions. So we pose a question to ourselves and we answer it, very much like one of the steps we use in BreakThrough. And this art form of asking the question, crafting a question, has been such a profound experience for me. Seeing things in a whole new way, simply asking a question that I'm still coming up with questions I never thought to ask. You know, I'm still working on what's the next question. You know? And it's really it gives me so much clarity, I guess. And yeah, that's a big part of the work that we do. Is
It's almost like the
learning to question.
question is a knife, right? So
Yes.
here you have all this stuff or garbage. And then the question comes in like a knife to kind of like, well, just to answer this. And it's so much fun watching somebody ping pong off it. It's like, no, you have to answer this question. You can't go off and start explaining all kinds of other things to validate the answer that is not the answer to the question. And even in everyday life, I don't know about you, Carolina, I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but so often, you know, here or in America, you can go in, ask a question, they'll tell you everything else but the answer to your question.
Exact here.
And you're like, what? Why are you telling me that? It wasn't like that when I was a kid. You would go in, let's say, to a shop, you'd ask a question, there was always someone who knew. But now you ask a question, the next thing is, it's not, I don't know, like, where's the washroom? Not like, I don't know. Oh, you know, I just started working here and I really haven't got down pat where the you know, customer washrooms are. And I'm like, just say no. Just tell me no. I asked you, where are the washrooms? I don't know, is the answer. I don't need to know your life history and competency in knowing where washrooms are. Yeah,
It's
especially
so
if you really have
fascinating.
to pee, right?
We had that today, exactly. You know, there's a new shop that opened down the road, and we went to see it, and there's still some vacancies in the stores. So I asked this one guy, "Do you know what shop is going to be here?" And he looked at me and said, "Oh, it's my first day here."
Right.
I was like, exactly what you're saying. That's not answering the question, but giving some kind of an explanation or an excuse or
Well, we're
something.
supposed to assume
It's
from
not
that he doesn't know because
yeah,
it's his first day. But it's
yeah,
almost like a justification rather than, I don't know.
right.
I have
So it's,
no clue, which would be just clear, right? It doesn't matter whether it's your first day or your 10th day or your 15th day. You may not know who works next door ever. Like, I don't know the name of the neighbor over there. I know the name of the neighbor over here, but I don't know the name of the neighbor over there. If somebody said, what's their name? Well, really friendly with these guys, not so friendly with them. No, I just don't know his name. Go knock on his door and ask him his name. It's so weird.
So then it seems that questioning and then giving a clear, concise answer, that's the work, really. That's what clears everything up for us.
A clear, concise answer, but no assumptions, which is the most important. Right. The concision, because we have a parameter where you can't use more than 8 words for the question or the answer, and you must answer in context. So if you see the answer, you don't need the question anymore. Within the answer contains the question. So I lost my train. I lost where I was.
Oh, we were talking about the work being the question and the answer, doing it concisely. And then you started talking about the parameters of no assumptions in the answer.
That way you can't plug into your answer, your assumption.
That's right.
Right? You can't, you have to answer clearly the question, and the question has to be, it's got to be contextual. So that way you are using your intellect and not just going off into your mind and extrapolating, because what could be the reason that you ask someone who owns the store next door, they say, oh, I just started today. Well, it's obvious, it's an explanation for why he doesn't know the answer, but he's not answering the question. He's giving you an explanation that I don't need. Right? I don't need, it has not that it's not about me, but I don't need it, because now I have to make, or you're expecting me to make assumptions about you.
Yeah.
So does that now mean I can make a ton of assumptions about your statement? Like, that means next time, once he's worked there for a month or 2, he should know. And no, he won't. Because you could work there 10 years and not know. It's hilarious, right? Yeah. So really answering a question without, you'd have to assume a lot. If someone's not going to answer the question,
exactly,
you're just going to assume a ton of things where it's like, what? Why are you? This has nothing to do with the question, and
that's right,
everything to do with where your mind's at.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that it doesn't matter when you're living your life whether someone answers that way. I mean, I answer with stupid answers all the time when I'm tired. Like, if my husband talks to me and I answer with these dumb answers, and he turns around and he starts doing little breakthrough things on me always, or I'm like, honey, I'm just tired and you're triggered, I'm not. Like, just you're triggered. I'm like, if you can't guess what I'm thinking, I'll tell you tomorrow morning, because right now I just gotta go to sleep, or I gotta lay down. My brain's too full. So I can understand that someone would do that, but it's when we're triggered that the assumptions need to be looked at. If you're not triggered, doesn't matter, right?
No.
Of course, we're not always triggered by something that would be, a breakthrough. We could be just tired, and that triggers us. Or, of course, you have to be careful, because if it's constantly triggering, then it's probably not going to be because you're tired, right?
Tired, indeed. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, that we're just doing a little talk here, but we could talk for hours about how fascinating this is, right?
So perhaps what we should do is either you and I come together and come up with another topic, but if you are interested, like we said earlier, in something specific that you want us to talk about, please just let us know and we'll do a video for you. Otherwise, look out for our videos that we're going to make spontaneously with our own topics that we'd like to look at. Usually something breakthrough related, because that's our kind of kickoff point. But
Pretty much life is breakthrough related, right?
yeah,
We can
it
go down the rabbit hole in a lot of different directions.
yeah.
And hopefully you'll just enjoy, tuning into our experience. I mean, this has been very powerful for Caroline and I. Very, very powerful. It's changed our lives in so many ways. I mean,
Yeah.
my relationship with my partner is just gorgeous. I never thought I could be in a relationship and not be triggered, or when I am tired and I snap, I just turn around and I go, I'm tired and I'm snapping and I apologize. But it's fascinating to be able to do that. I never thought that was ever possible, that I could be in a relationship,
Yeah.
live with someone, and think I would be committed till the day I die. I never thought that was possible.
Me too. I never thought it was possible that someone would actually love me, full stop. I used to say enough to marry me, but just love me and want to marry me. And I never thought that I was going to have children with someone that I really loved. And these were the things that I was so in turmoil. It's incredible. But here I am. I have a wonderful relationship with my husband, and I've got 2 beautiful boys. And I just as you say, I never thought it was
Never,
possible. And
never.
here it is.
Yeah, it's still, sometimes I wake up and go, wow, I'm with somebody and we are totally glued together. I think I was saying I was going to go out to visit a friend. And he just said, oh, really? Really? I'm going to miss you. It's like, we're here in lockdown 24/7. I mean, we were inseparable before lockdown, but this is pretty much like you're tied, right? I don't even go out to the office to work. We're both inside. And he's like, oh, I'm going to miss you. I'm like, this is hilarious. This is just too much. And he's not, that kind of guy who says, I provoke him to do this. But this was spontaneous. Like, oh, I'm going to miss you. Just all of a sudden, it's like, oh, you're going to be out of the house. You're going to be away. I just thought, who would think that? Well, for me, it wasn't like you have somebody would love me. That I never had as a problem. I think somehow I felt always lovable. I feel people dislike me and hate me as well. And I don't really care. They can hate me for all that, it doesn't matter. Of course, that took a long time I mean, we teach internationally.
Yes.
And not everybody's going to like you. I mean, I've been the focus of tons of hate, especially, in breakthrough, we can, in our work, trigger people. With some of the work that we do, it can be very new for a lot of people. It's so new, it's so revolutionary, and they often think that this work tells them something's wrong with them. No, it doesn't tell you something's wrong with you. This work tells us we are perfect. We've just forgotten. So we have to unlearn the garbage that tells us we're not. But that said, you can meet up with someone who thinks they are already completely perfect. Everybody around them is triggered, and they've got a veneer of such an identity of, no, I don't have a problem, which is fine. They don't need to do the work. That's not, there's so many flowers. I used to use this, kind of analogy. There's so many flowers. And if one of the flowers wants to say, oh, my life is good, but I have a heart condition and I have this and I have that, fine. Go right ahead. Do what you need to do. But when you've got enough conflict going on, and you're triggered enough, those triggers are such beautiful warning bells telling you something, we're kind of going full circle of the way I started at the beginning, right? Like something triggers you, a little pain tells you something's going on. So when something triggers your conflict, it's that beautiful, beautiful bell going, hello, this is something that is seeking you out. It's saying, look over here. The problem is that you can be triggered and you say, okay, I'm looking, but I don't know what it's saying, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. So that's when you need a structure, right?
That's right.
That structure is so important for us. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to start a business and go sit in the middle of the street and set up a desk, on the median or whatever. You can't do these things. You need some walls. First of all, if you set your desk up outside with your computer, there's no electricity. There are no walls when it rains or the wind blows. So we know structure is clearly important. So it's also really important that the mind can use structure. It's important. Otherwise, when it runs willy-nilly all over the place, it's like good, being able to, when you go to school, you have a structure to be able to learn math or to be able to do something in gym. There's a structure, which is very helpful to learn particular things. We're doing the same thing. The structure of asking the questions and the person answering it in a particular format, whatever their answer is, whatever their truth that comes out as the truth. And then they can see what's actually going on. But without that structure, forget it. And I don't know about you, but I don't think you trigger people as much as I do, right?
I think I'm beginning to.
Well, I think maybe it's I don't know what it is, but why I trigger people so much. And I'm so different than the way I used to be. I mean, I'm still move a lot and that kind of stuff, but I don't feel the same as I was. I don't qualitatively feel the same way. Everything feels really different. And I still trigger people and I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I just sit back and go, why are you so triggered by me? Like, why are you so upset with me? But it still happens. Definitely not with the frequency and the intensity. I've been in situations where I had to sit and listen to how much they hated everything about me. We hate how she looks. We hate how she speaks. We hate how she teaches. We hate her clothes, down to my clothes. Excuse me.
That's so funny. That is so bizarre.
It was. But again, there's another interesting aspect of anchoring. My coordinator was unable to anchor into what we're doing in BreakThrough. So the moment you start to, build up the work, people start to have catalysts going on. And that's really important that they're catalyzed. And I have to, as you do, we have to support them so that they can anchor and see it's a defense and it's a conviction rather than a truth. You can't just spread your recipes around and think everybody's going to follow them, right?
Right.
I mean, we all have a bunch of recipes of how rules of conduct, etc. But there's no way you can't go to a different country and bring your rules of conduct into that country. That's apart from preferences. You can have a preference. I have a preference of the way I want my home to be. I have a preference for, where I want people to sit. I don't want them to take the cushions off the sofa, pour food on it, and start eating out of the sofa. That's not one of my rules of conduct. So I'm pretty free about it. But if somebody is, destructive, I probably wouldn't invite them over again. Because I have a preference. But I don't care that that's what they want to do in their own home. If that's how you want to eat in your home, go right ahead. I don't care one bit. You want stacks of dishes. You don't care if you have cockroaches. I don't care either. But I care about my home or not care about. I have particular preferences about how things are going to manifest. So I trigger a lot of people and have done it, and you're obviously getting that experience. And it's fascinating, even the tension buildup of the first 2 days of class, where people begin to get, some people start getting the work, other people go, I don't know what you're doing. I don't, because the mind is so, requires another rule, right?
Yeah.
And we don't give those rules. Right? We don't tell you, no, this is what you have to do, this is what you're going to do, and this is going to be the outcome. We're going through a questioning process, and each time that we investigate something through these questions, something magical occurs. We don't know what's going to happen at the end. We even had that experience today in self-inquiry. Someone said, what do you do about it? It's like, well, we just did it.
This is
now,
it.
You might not have had your experience yet. But I would really doubt it from that person who said it, because right away they had a feeling, in a sense, that the answers they were giving were not right. So you knew something was stirring. She was critiquing her own answers. So the moment she's critiquing her own answers, there's a sense that, like, there's a turtle shell that she's trying to break through, which is what we do, break through. She's trying to break through that turtle shell. And I really think that, whether it happens in that moment or it happens later, we need to do, because self-inquiry isn't the same as a steps process. A steps process is just one person going through that process, and that person will unravel something, but everyone who's watching will get definitely a hit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I see you are, I know it's very late for you, but
I think we should, if we can end here, that would be great.
Yes,
I'm really getting tired now, but it's been such an amazing discussion. I really have enjoyed it.
Well, we'll continue. This is our first one, so hopefully everyone's going to enjoy it. And it's going out unedited, okay?
Unedited.
The little saliva that came out when I was talking. So yeah, au naturel, didn't even brush my hair again. So
I love that.
So have a great time. All right, I'm gonna, where's the recording? Okay, well, ciao everyone.